Hello everyone, my name is Natalia and this is my YouTube channel Seagull the Explorer. Today I'm going to make another reaction video and that will be the video from Geography Now about Austria. Why Austria? Some of you may know that I am right now in Italy, so I wanted to make a reaction video about the country that I'm close to. As I already made a reaction video about Italy, I started to look for its neighbors, and Austria is one of the nearest ones. So yeah, that's why Austria. Also, I have been to Austria several times. I visited Vienna, the capital, Salzburg, the birthplace of Mozart, and Innsbruck. All three are just great. Totally recommend for visiting. So let's dive in.
Also nicht vergessen, wann's nach Österreich kommst, a wann's Deutsch reden, nennt es nicht Deutsch.
His German was funny a little bit. Yeah. I think it's great that he tries to speak a foreign language. Yeah, I think it's great. Even if it sounds not correct. Honestly, when I'm learning a new language, I'm always very reluctant to start speaking it because I think that my pronunciation is bad. I need to first learn how to pronounce words, but I think it's not right. Yeah, people just need to start speaking. Anyway, that's another story. Let's just begin.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey peeps, I'm your host Paul Barbato. Let's dissect the flag. The flag is one of the oldest used flags of Europe. Disputably, legend has it that the flag comes from the Siege of Acre after Leopold V came back from battle and removed his belt with his blood-soaked tunic, leaving a red-white banner. Keep in mind that the Austrian flag looks very similar to the flag of Latvia, however the Latvian flag has unequal-sized bands and is a darker shade of red. Keep in mind, many other countries in the Eastern European region, specifically the Pan-Slavic areas, still retain a part or complete version of the white-red pattern on their flags, like Austria. We'll explain a little bit more about this, but first, let's talk about the borders. In terms of its location, Austria is landlocked, bordered by 8 other countries, don't forget Liechtenstein, in the Central European region, with the Alps dominating 3/4 of the country in the west and in the center. The country is divided into 9 states, although it's kind of funny because the state of Lower Austria is technically a little higher than Upper Austria geographically. The capital and the largest city is Vienna, located on the eastern side of the country, where 1 out of every 8 Austrians can be found. The city is a wonderful assimilation of centuries-old stone churches, palaces, opera houses, and monuments, as well as modern high-rises, skyscrapers, and business offices.
That is so true. Meaning, when you are in Vienna, you are surrounded by these majestic, mighty buildings. It's so, I don't know, you feel so small as you're just a small human being when you are walking around how do you call it? Viennese streets of Vienna. But it's so great. I loved it. I love this feeling. Like you are in the middle of everything that was happening in the city.
Oh, and there's dozens of castles speckled throughout the entire country. Remember how in the Albania video I told you play that whole find the bunker game? Well, in Austria, it's kind of like find the castle game. As a member of the EU, Austria's borders are pretty open with all of its neighbors and are pretty much virtually invisible with the exception of the occasional river or mountain blocking the way. The only controversy it really has is in the South Tyrol region, which historically belonged to a number of different kingdoms and empires, but for a long while it belonged to the House of Habsburg, a historically fascinating lineage that would eventually play a pivotal role instrumental in providing half of Europe with all of their monarchical lineages. In short, it kind of initially belonged to Austria. However, after the Treaty of Saint-Germain-en-Laye in 1919, the entire southern part of this region was kind of reluctantly given to the Kingdom of Italy. This explains why Austria has a relatively narrow eastern parameter that stretches into the Alps, as the South Tyrol region, which previously gave the country a wider range of dominion, was ceded to Italy. Austria was kind of like, okay, Italy, we'll give you this piece of land, but, you know, just a little heads up, pretty much everybody in there is Austrian and they speak German and they kind of want to be part of Austria. But hey, it's all yours. The most confusing part of the region, though, would have to be the Jungholz Enclave. Located right on the border of the Bavarian region of southern Germany, this place only has about 300 people, separated into 4 small towns. This area is strange because it is one of Europe's only 3 quadrupoint borders and is technically joined by Austria by only a small narrow corridor, only a few meters wide, on the top of the adjacent Zugspoften mountain that crosses over into the Austria side. Otherwise, the only way to get into Austria from this region is by driving through Germany. This means that if you don't want to go through Germany to get into Austria from this region, the only way is to literally climb to the top of the Zugspoften mountain to the very point where the 4 borders meet and climb all the way down to the rest of Austria. Since the 19th century, the borders have been literally marked every single step of the way, and the top has a markstone that distinguishes the narrow crossing. Believe it or not, this is actually a common hike that a lot of people take, despite the fact that many of them don't even understand the significance of the markers.
I would definitely go into that hike. I mean, well, I would. That will be really, really hard. I mean, it's climbing a mountain. I cannot do that. But I would definitely go there.
Speaking of mountains and hikes, let's talk about the physical geography. As mentioned before, about 3/4 of Austria is mountainous, with the Alps dominating the center and western parts of the country. These mountains are the characterizing segments that give Austria its distinct national identity, both historically and culturally.
Which makes the country so gorgeous. I cannot even find more words to describe how beautiful Austria is. Several times I traveled through Austria by train, and it was so hard just do something else except watching out the window, because it was so beautiful.
Culturally. In short, even though the vast majority of people in Austria live in the low-lying plains around the mountains, Austria would not be Austria without the Alps. These mountains can actually be quite quirky, almost with minds of their own. For example, every spring in the Hochschwab Mountains and forests on the east side of the Alps, the snowmelt from the mountains completely engorges the Grüner See, or the Green Lake, engulfing the entire park with trees and benches underneath.
Really? Oh, that's nice. I mean, well, not nice for the park, but that is so cool. Meaning a cool fact to know. I would definitely visit the park. Maybe not underwater, when it is underwater, but yeah, I would definitely go there. Okay. Great.
These mountains also provide the perfect setting for Austria's favorite sport, skiing. The problem, though, is that although these mountains are very beautiful, they do kind of make a lot of the country uninhabitable or difficult to cultivate. Although 40% of the land is covered in forests, less than 20% of the land is arable. And for the record, yes, The Sound of Music was filmed in parts of Austria. No, not everybody has seen or even cared about seeing that movie. Of course, the mighty Danube River flows through the northern part of the country and has historically played a vital role in Austria's economy and trade sector, especially after the construction of the Rhine-Main-Danube River Canal back in 1992, which allows ships to finally pass from the North Sea through Europe into the Balkans and ending into the Black Sea. The low-lying areas of eastern Austria have nice grassy hills and plains, perfect for cattle raising and, of course, dairy production, where some of the classiest Austrian cheeses are produced. Now, of course, Austria's economy is not really that heavily based on agriculture, but rather services and industry, specifically in engine and medication manufacturing. But who does all the manufacturing? Let's find out in demographics. You know, as the home country of Mozart, Austria still kind of lives up to its classy expectation. Austria has a population of about 8.5 million, about 90% of whom are ethnically Austrian, and 10% from other nations, mostly from Germany and the former Yugoslavian states such as Hungary, Serbia, and Bosnia, with an influx of Turkish people having immigrated over the past few decades. The reason why there are so many Eastern Europeans in Austria has somewhat to do with the Austro-Hungarian Empire and the Habsburg dynasty, which was one of the most pivotal monarchies that shaped the entire course of European history in every corner, from Spain to France, England to Russia, and so on. The Habsburgs even took over Mexico for a short period of time. That's how powerful these people were. Yes, Austrians speak German, however, rule number one, do not call them German. They're kind of reluctant to even tell you that they speak German, and will be very quick to point out that it's Austrian German, not German German. The language has a very distinct vocabulary, a lot of the words influenced from Eastern European nation words, and they also have their own standard dictionary set apart from the German and Swiss dictionaries. The dialects can change drastically in Austria. Sometimes it only takes about 40 kilometers traveling inward until you reach an area that has a completely different accent. And don't even get started on those Liechtensteiners. In contrast to Germans, Austrians like to define themselves as more soft-spoken and reserved. They don't like to upset anybody, and courtesy is very highly expected in this country. Educational accomplishments and achievements are very highly prized in Austria. One thing Austrians do kind of obsess over, though, are titles. They prefer to be addressed by every title that they've obtained for themselves, even if it equates to like 15 titles. Mr., Dr., Chairman, Vice CEO, Chairman Otto von Schnitzelbach Krakengeschäftsmeier. One thing that Austrians will tell you that they really like to do is just taking simple walks, whether it's just for an hour to clear their head, and in any weather, whether it's great or whether it's raining. They even have a word for it, spazieren gehen. Don't be surprised if an
spazieren gehen. Well, but this word is just, it exists in standard German as well. Can I say so, standard German? Okay, maybe I am wrong here to say, to call German standard German. Both of them have this word, so I don't know. Spazieren gehen, nicht spazieren gehen.
Austrian invites you to just go for a walk. Go with it. They're a little bit more conservative in their politics, which can possibly be attributed to the growing elderly population. However, the youth have always been known to ruffle up a few controversy feathers here and there. I mean, the winner of last year's Eurovision contest was an Austrian drag queen with a beard. They keep things a little bit on the down low. However, once every so often, one notable figure comes and shines through, like Christopher Waltz and everyone's favorite bodybuilder Arnold Schwarzenegger, which, by the way, contrary to some stupid rumors, no, the last name Schwarzenegger does not have a racist connotation behind it. It literally just means the person from Schwarzen. Schwarzen meaning black, Egger meaning soil, black soil, fertile soil. It basically just means the place of the fertile soil. The family is descended from a long line of prosperous farmers, which is what the name refers to. Case closed! Speaking of relationships, let's talk about the friend zone. In the simplest way I can put this is kind of what Austria's relationships kind of look like. Now shut up and dance with me! Pretty much all of Austria's best friends have some kind of a love-hate relationship with them, but love always wins in the end. It's kind of crazy too, because in the...
So before going into the French... how do we call this segment? Friend zone. Let's talk a little bit more about people and languages. So yeah, usually that's my segment. When I'm talking about languages in a particular country. I haven't done a lot of research on languages in Austria. So it was already mentioned that the main language that is spoken in Austria is Austrian German. And this is the language of media, of education, of announcements, of any official business. And, well, the majority of the population can speak it and can understand it. But there are some, and the host mentioned there that there are some other languages and dialects which drastically which are drastically different from each other. So one of such, well, it is hard to, sometimes it is hard to differentiate between the language and the dialect, and there can be a lot of debate between the linguists on particular topics or particular languages or dialects. So one of those is called Austro-Bavarian language. So some say that it is a dialect of German, some say it is a separate language. I personally don't have an opinion on that because I honestly don't know how different they are. But anyway, so this language, Austro-Bavarian, it is spoken basically throughout Austria. So this is the main native language of Austria outside the Vorarlberg land or Vorarlberg state. Vorarlberg state is the westernmost state or land of Austria, and there the main language, besides Austrian German, which is an official language. So the main, if I can say so, native language there is Alemannic. I don't have the numbers of how many people speak it, so just as a fact that it is spoken there. There are a lot of minority languages in Austria as well, and some of them were given a status of official minority languages, and those include Turkish, Hungarian, well, because of history, Slovene, Serbian, Croatian, but a particular Croatian that is spoken. So this particular Croatian is spoken by the people, by the Croatian who live near the in Austria, but near the border with Croatia. So these languages were given a status of a minority language because of the historically set groups that live on the territory of Austria from the countries or speaking those languages. Among foreign languages spoken in Austria, English, of course, it is spoken as a second language. Sorry, as a foreign language. And it is spoken by 73% of the population, which is really, really cool. Okay, so that is it about languages in Austria. As I told as I said in the beginning, I haven't had a lot of research done in that area, and my report is not very big. Anyway, so let's continue. Oh, but before continuing, but I forgot. So about people, I'm not sure that he will give more information about people here. So he already mentioned some, like Mozart, Schwarzenegger, and Christopher Waltz. By the way, by Mozart, maybe I am going to a dangerous zone there, because I think there is a feud between Germany and Austria on whose composer Mozart was, but at least everyone agrees that he was born in Salzburg in Austria, so that's why he's considered to be Austrian. But besides that feud, there are more composers that were born in Austria, and quite famous ones. For example, Haydn, Schubert. They were both born in Austria. So among other famous people from Austria, Sigmund Freud, he's, very famous. And I usually tend to name some tennis players from the country that I'm making a reaction to. At least one comes to my mind right now, and this is Dominic Thiem. So he's a current tennis player. He's quite popular. quite famous and quite successful, although I think this year, I'm not sure if he was not very successful or he was just, he didn't participate in many championships. So right now he's somewhere in ATP rankings, he's somewhere 100 in the 100s. Anyway, so now let's continue to watch the video.
The nicest, softest way I can put this, Austria did kind of start or influence both world wars. World War I with the attacks from the Empire on Serbia after the Archduke was assassinated, and World War II because, well, I mean, Hitler was kind of born in Austria. I mean, no Austria, no Hitler. To this day, Austria is incredibly neutral in their affairs and lies in a very interesting alliance limbo as they have neither joined NATO or the Warsaw Pact. But enough on that. In regards to their eastern neighbors, because of the whole Austro-Hungarian Empire, Austria and many of the other Central and Balkan states like the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Serbia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and so on have close ties to Austria, even though historically they had lots of drama under the Habsburg dynasty. But hey, it was either the Habsburgs or the Ottomans, and they hated the Ottomans. In regards to Italy, Italy has always been a huge trade partner, but of course, like mentioned before, the whole South Tyrol region thing kind of causes a little bit of tension. They aren't going to war or anything, but Austria is kind of like, look, Italy, I mean, come on. Everybody there is Austrian. In terms of their best friends, Austria would kind of reluctantly say Germany, but more specifically Bavaria, the region of South Germany. Bavarians and Austrians are very similar in their culture and tradition. Some Austrians will tell you that because they get along so well, Bavaria is said to be the 10th Bundesland, or state, of Austria, although Bavaria alone has more inhabitants than the whole of Austria. You know all that stereotypical Lederhosen and Dirndl costume stuff that you see on all those Oktoberfest commercials? Yeah, that's kind of what you would attribute to Bavarian and somewhat Austrian culture, but they only do that on special occasions. I mean, if it was up to me, I would wear that stuff 24/7, but hey, to each his own. In conclusion, Austria is kind of like the country that secretly changed the entire course of all of European history right under our noses without us even knowing about it. Here's one more picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and get ready because Azerbaijan is coming up next.
Okay, yeah, so that's it. Yeah, the video was quite short, but it was one of the oldest ones. I think this video is already 7 years old, so yeah, it's quite old. Still, they managed to tell a lot of stories and a lot of facts about Austria, which I liked. Some of them I really did not know, and I'm glad that I watched the video. So I hope you enjoyed my reaction, and I hope to see you guys soon in my next reaction video. Bye!